Hello, hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host Keegan, and this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have the special guest, Stetson Smith.
Hello! I'm very happy to be back.
I was about to say, we're glad to have you back, Stetson. How have you been since last time?
Very busy. Basically, just working on High Plains Media, as I've talked to you pretty much since I started this show. We're getting just more and more traction every day, basically, every story we do. We've gotten some big press passes for big events. We did the Tri-State Fair and Rodeo.
Ooh.
That was a big deal. We got Hoodoo Mural Festival tomorrow. That was a big deal. That was actually kind of hard to get in.
Nice.
And we got Amarillo Mayor and Amarillo Councilman following me now. They like my publications, so it's a slow build up, but we're starting to get a little bit of momentum.
Dude, that's awesome. And a little bit of traction goes a long way in the end, like that ripple effect is really real. And I mean, the mayor of Amarillo is following you. What?
He's a cool guy. He's all right. He's a very good politician. He's very good at just rubbing those shoulders and making you feel good for it. But you know what? He's not he's not awful. I like that he supports me. I actually just uploaded a video today. If anybody wants to, after this, swing over to High Plains Media on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram and check out what we're talking about. We were talking about a finalized update on the Sanctuary City ordinance, which I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But if you guys haven't heard of the Sanctuary City for the Unborn ordinance and you live in Amarillo, you should definitely look into it. It is also being called Prop A. It will be on the ballot in November.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a big deal. And like being an Amarillo native, I'm kind of like, man, I really don't want Amarillo to be on national news for something stupid again.
We're already on national news for it. We have so much eyeballs on us for this story. So every time I cover it, it does really good for my channel, which is like, this kind of like back and forth. It's like, I'm glad it's helping my channel, but I wish it wasn't this.
Yeah, right. Just like, why does all this negativity have to be good for me?
But at least for once it is.
I know, right? I was about to say it used to feel like that, but nowadays you get to sit there and actually use it for good because you're sitting there, you're trying to get the truth out there. You're trying to actually get an unbiased perspective and just get underneath the nitty gritty and get all the news that the people like kind of just glimpse over, especially in Amarillo.
Well, it's because here we go. It's because with cable television, they only can cover so little of it, and then it's the next story, and then it's the next day, and you don't remember this. I do extensive deep dive packages that are about 6 to 10 minutes long, and I do report it as non-biased as I can, so I can talk to everybody and get in on those fields of the sort of the two sides. But I am a human being, and I believe that reporters are allowed to have opinions as human being. And my opinion is I hate this thing. I hate who's organizing this. I cannot stand it. And they kind of know. They found out. They figured it out. But it is what it is because now I have even more support from those who also are with me that this is not good for Amarillo. So if anybody, this is going to be my due diligence towards ARFA today. Please go check out Sanctuary City for the Unborn Ordinance, or Proposition A, in Amarillo, Texas. It's a very big deal. But today, we're actually going to talk about, I have a performance coming up. It's a live performance. It's going to be in exactly about a month on October 26th.
Sweet. At
the 806 Coffee Shop and Lounge. I did it once before. It's called Empire of Ash. And it was an immense success the first time, and I'm hoping it's an even bigger one the second time. So
that's awesome, man. And the 806 holds a special place in my heart.
I think it holds a special place to this whole community's heart. So if anybody from the 806 or 806 people are watching this, we love you guys.
Yes, very much so. But so this Empire of Ash, this performance that you're doing, what exactly is it about? I mean, I've seen it, and by the way, amazing job.
You seen it?
Well, I've seen what you've posted of it, and I've seen a little clip of it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We did pretty good with the advert reels, actually. I really liked how we advertised it last time.
Yes.
So I actually, it's so funny. When I was making it, I almost had a hard time telling people what this was because it almost formed as I made it. It was almost like finished when it was finished. And then I was like, oh, that's what it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. I guess I'm presenting this. So how I created it will kind of help explain this. So I wrote these 8 poems, spoken word pieces, whatever you want to call them. And I wrote these 8 different pieces, and then I threaded a story through it. And then I created these sort of cinematic monologues or sort of like scenes that help set up the next one and are actually flashbacks to help describe where the character you're witnessing got where he is today. So the character that I'm playing is called Private Smith because why not a self-insert? And essentially the story is about Private Smith going on a tour of duty and then it being kind of rough and going through intense conflict and then coming home, and basically the story of overcoming or the challenge of dealing with PTSD from a military service perspective. Now, I have to disclose, I haven't had any military experience firsthand myself, but the big passion behind making it about the armed forces a little bit was because it is a huge expression of my personal struggles with post-traumatic stress disorder, but it is also a very big expression about a true story that I had with my brothers who were in the Army. And they were in the Army during the Bush administration, whenever we were at war with like all the Middle East. And they went through like huge amounts of tours through Afghan, through Iran, through Iraq, all of them. They saw lots of active combat, and then they would come home for Christmas. That was really the only time I got to see these, my brothers, essentially my stepbrothers. And they were really fun guys. They kind of traveled the world. They had these crazy stories, ones I wasn't even allowed to hear, and then but like, to turn it a little sinister is like at nighttime, things would happen. Like they would have these like nightmares, these relivings of it, and it was intense to see and go through. And I think it's an homage to witnessing that as a child, as to the firsthand like how that really affected it. So they'd like get up and then they'd be like talking to me fully, and I'm like, yo, I'm like sleeping, dude, what's up? And then he's like throwing me off the bed and like covering my body because he's like thinking he's protecting me from fire or some explosion. I'm just like, whoa, dude, like what's happening? That's a very true story. It was to show respect, to put a spotlight on this thing that these really tough guys, they don't have this acting ability. Acting's not, I wouldn't say it's every military guy's thing, but you don't normally think of a hardened veteran and then a performer. So I made my due diligence to really make it respectful. And I even had an ex-Marine donate a full uniform with a vest and a helmet. So I was decked out in fatigues, and it was hot. And it was a full house. It was packed, and it was very well done.
That's awesome. And
it's a one-man show. It just stars me. Which I had someone who watched it said, those are normally disasters. I was like, oh, are they? And she was like, no, yours was amazing. I was like, great.
Well, it is on YouTube, is it not?
It's not.
It's not? Okay.
We were going to record it, and then we forgot to hit record.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we had the camera set up and everything, and then we started the show. Here's what happened. The place that we set up at didn't have Wi-Fi. We didn't know about it, and so the lighting cues that my girlfriend had built for the entire performance wouldn't work without Wi-Fi.
Oh, no.
And, which, we still did the show, but because of, like, this anxiety of our first organized performance and then this little hiccup that we tried to, like, figure out and stuff in the moment, and then I just started. And then I literally, as I was doing my opening scene, I looked at the camera in the back of the room and I was like, I know that's not on.
Oh, no. That is just, my stomach would have dropped.
but it was intimate. It was 20 people,
Uh-huh.
filled up the whole room. It was a very intimate performance. I was like right here, like in the face of my front row audience, and
Oh man.
it was a good one. I'm not gonna do a ton from that show. I'll do a few from that show. But today I wanted to go over a few of my spoken words that I've done before, and we could explore sort of the themes that are in them as far as the mental health that pertained probably when I was writing it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds really good. And I mean, poetry and just written word has a magic to it, a way to express a emotion that just is hard to articulate in the moment, you know? And it's a way to encapsulate even more than, because you have that time to, or like, just choose that right word or that right way to phrase something, and it just, I don't know, poetry holds a special place in my heart. So it's really awesome that you do a one-man show and doing all that. That's impressive. Did you memorize all that, by the way?
No, oh my god, I need to work on it. So because the show wasn't finished until like the day before, it was hard. It was hard. Yeah. Most of it was somewhat memorized by heart. The sort of transition scenes, I focused so much on making sure that those were right, because they are sort of off scripted. They aren't these written pieces or these essentially long monologues. The whole show is essentially me monologuing for about an hour. It's hard.
Oh yeah,
to memorize. Plus doing journalism, plus building I did the audio too. There's audio that goes with it, and so I had I had 8 tracks. I think I might have had 16 because some of the I don't know, and then some of them are multi-tracked. So it's like all these layers of like the climax is like the war, right? And so there's like a siren going off and guns and an airplane and then like some emotional music in the background. And so it's like I had to like go in there and meticulously play with all this audio. And so that took so much of my time other than getting to remember it. But now it's finished and I have a month. So hopefully I'll be mostly off script. I wouldn't be surprised if I still want my script.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, go ahead and kick it off with the first written piece that you want to share.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, I was kind of trying to pull it up here. For some reason, I can't find it in my performance files. This is my newest one.
Okay.
So it may have just gotten misplaced as to where it is, but I've got it right here. This is my newest one. It's called "What a Time to Be Alive. What a Time to Want to Die." Okay. What a time to be alive. I can't afford a house, and there isn't a job out there that wants anything to do with me. And if they did, it certainly would not pay me enough to thrive. I have to watch as an entire class of people enjoy lifestyles and luxuries that I will never be in possession of. And even if I were to magically acquire them, I wouldn't want it, because I'm cursed to know that all of it could only be built and maintained off the impoverishment of others. What a time to want to die, in a time of wonders, to live in a world where illness no longer means certain death, where plagues will no longer wipe out an entire town, where technology could connect me to 1,000 voices in an instant. And for a moment, I feel heard. There are new worlds created every day, in art, in music, in pixels. And for a second, I forget. What a time to be alive. I watch as an entire generation gives up, numb to the hellscape around them. We get online to watch in real time a pandemic, a school shooting, an invasion, and a genocide. I watch as they fear what's to come for standing up to power. Fear consuming my peers, my friends, until they can no longer trust even their allies, as imperfect as they are. What a time to want to die, when I can witness the unthinkable, to see human ingenuity pushed beyond boundaries, beyond the stars. Cures once thought impossible are found, and though the world feels small, it's also so infinite. There's a wonder in every corner, where strangers can unite across oceans, where movements rise and voices are heard. The world is not all silent, and for every cry, there is an echo. And in these brief moments of connection, hope quietly blossoms. And yet, what a time to be alive. I hear the echoes of collapse, as the system fails us, and I stand idle, helpless, watching as the weight of history crushes us, one by one, until we are dust. What a time to want to die. And yet look how the spirit survives. Through it all, through loss and grief, through loneliness so thick you could drown in it, we still find love in the kindness of strangers, and a smile shared across the street, in the art that makes us feel human, if just a moment longer. In nature's quiet beauty, we are reminded this world, though it could be bleeding, still has a heartbeat. What a time we live in. What a narrative we live. What intricate webs we weave. I suppose I really have no other choice than to be here now and witness all there is and calmly wait for its end.
Very nice. That was good. Very deep. Yes. A little.
We're gonna do a lot of these today, boys.
I think I can do like more than one on a hand. Like,
oh, can you do the? I can do. Let me see if I can still do it. Neat. Okay.
Anyway, so what inspired you to make that one?
So this one,
that one hit really close to home. You know,
oh,
just like because I'm right there with you.
So this one is, I think, back to what I talked about on our first episode, sort of like this pendulum swing of the suicidal ideology. Of like, you swing in between these two extremes of like, oh my god, it's hopeless, I want to die, oh, everything's great, I'm having such a good time, my friends are beautiful. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it's just like, it's like this pirate ship ride. And, you know, it's, of course, like, in these philosophies, spiritual philosophies of getting centered, you're not swinging so extreme, but sometimes you are. Sometimes you're just on that ride of that really intense swing. And you're like, this is getting really high. And I'm, like, getting that lurch in your stomach.
Yeah, right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like I said, I'm right there with you, especially in that regard. And sometimes those like super highs are the worst to come down from, you know, just like
the crash.
Yeah, because and it sucks whenever I know the crash is coming. It's like almost like getting ready for winter. Like I want to hibernate, but like, what do I need to like stay feeling good whenever the crash comes?
Yeah,
but.
Sometimes it's an event. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm doing great. You know, I'm gonna do all this. I'm working on my own business and all this and that. And then like comes out, people come out and then they don't want me to succeed. And I get my head about how my community hates me. And I'm just like, yep. I don't want to go outside anymore. And so sometimes it could be a triggering event that like swings us right back onto the other side of the fence.
Yep, very much.
Especially if it's a triggering event that reinforces past trauma.
Yes.
That sort of reinforces these negative core values that we had to work really, really hard to get over. And then someone just comes in and is just all like, here it is again. It's just like, wow, that set me back.
And I mean, that's one of those things is that we all experience those traumas from like childhood. And whenever we repeat those, they get so ingrained in us that whenever we start wanting to change and everything in us goes that easier path because it's been instilled in us, you know. And then as we're trying to get out of it, it takes more repetitions to get that neural pathway right. And then once you're treating yourself like you said, it's like life comes at you left and right and just it's like right.
It's or it could be a person. It like sends you this unevolved person, and you're thinking like, because you're in such a good place, you want to be loving and accepting with everybody, and then they just like, I feel like it's a sense of. So have you watched BoJack Horseman?
I've seen episodes.
You see the episodes. So there's a character called Mr. Peanut Butter. Here's my favorite fan theory about Mr. Peanut Butter. Mr. Peanut Butter is one of the most self-loving characters in the show, genuinely, and BoJack can't stand it. It infuriates him because he doesn't love himself that way, and he wants Mr. Peanut Butter to feel as awful about his person that BoJack does, and it's projected quite prominently in the show. And I feel I have succumbed to that more than once in my life, where I try to embody this Mr. Peanut Butter personality, which I am the golden retriever in my relationship. So, but I have very much felt that there has been this absolute jealousy, envy, just this seething. I can't stand this guy because why isn't he as critical about himself that I am? Why can't he behave this sort of like, you know, if he does something slightly off-putting or embarrassing, he doesn't seem, it just like rolls off his back. It's hardly even like he's sorry. It's because humans are like this. Humans do this. There's no need to dwell on it or whatever, but I really do feel that way. I relate to that. And so sometimes that event of like finally tuning into these people I want to be friends with and get along with hate my guts.
Yeah.
And it hurts. It hurts really bad because unlike Mr. Peanut Butter, I can sense others' emotions sometimes.
Yeah. And
so
that's definitely its own pain. And that fear of, that pain of rejection.
Yeah.
That's a big one. Like,
yeah. And one of my traumas too. But thanks to my girlfriend, thanks to the support I have that doesn't let instances like that sway them, I am able to swing back. I appreciate anybody who's patient with me through my swings.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is it's that little bit of understanding goes a long way, because that's one of those things that it's in so far like in your person that you can do your best to manage it. You can't necessarily change it, you know? And so sometimes like with mental illness, if there's not really a cure per se, a lot of it is symptom management. And that's knowing like what I got to do for myself. Like with ADHD, I got to sit there and do certain things a certain way, because either with medication I have side effects I don't want, or without medication my brain is all scattered. So if I work with the scatter, I don't have to take the medication.
I felt that as someone with ADD, and who I've actually been wanting to get back on ADD medication so bad, and Adderall is so hard to get on nowadays.
Yeah.
But, so it's sort of like these symptom managements. And lately I've been a little more scattered, but I'm starting to, hopefully, I kind of feel like when things are slightly going back to like, oh, okay, I'm not messing up so commonly anymore.
Yeah, and then you get to reinforce that good stuff coming in, and then it helps make the transition easier each time, or at least it has for me.
I think support helps reinforce that transition.
It does, very much so.
Support's a big deal.
Because you can only validate yourself so much until you're conceited.
Right? So there was a point in my life I got there, because right after my stepmom, I felt so rejected from my household and from my peers that's a whole long story I'm not going to go down. But essentially, the rejection thing was a big deal. So I got to this point, I felt so rejected by my community that I kind of told myself the only person who's going to love the crap out of me unconditionally is me, and I gotta embody that. And I became probably the biggest version of Mr. Peanut Butter probably back in 2016, 2017, where I was like, screw everybody, I am the hottest thing that is ever gonna walk through this room. I was a little conceited. People genuinely thought I was a narcissist, but what it was is I was trying to learn to love myself, and that pendulum went from this like years and years and years, like a decade of self-hate, and then finally, like, you know, the person who was pulling it that way, my abuser, finally left, and then I was like, pooh, like it swung really far the other way, and then I had to kind of come back to center through that constant swing, and I finally feel like it's getting a little less extreme, but I'm still me. There's still those core symptoms to deal with, and some days are better than others, you know. Some days they slip up. That does not mean we're bad people.
No, not at all.
It just means that, like, you know, there's still more to grow. And that may be a little bit of understanding from people, less demonization, villainization, and a little more like, well, why don't we discuss with him? Maybe there's something going on.
Yeah, exactly. Because you never know what's going on in between someone's ears.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've got the next one pulled up if you're ready.
Yes, sir. Go for it.
This one's from My Empire Bash. This is the closer.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know. I thought this was really fun. I thought maybe you'd get a kick out of it. So at the end of the show, I'll spoil it a little bit. At the end of the show, there's this old cowboy guy. I have this hat I put on, and he's like at a campfire, and there's like wolves howling in the background a little bit. And so, so I'm gonna do the voice. because the voice kind of makes it. So I had to explain that, so I'm gonna do an old cowboy voice.
Alrighty.
In a world of damnation, man was cast down and cast aside, experiencing a villain's condemnation, as well as his convictions. Destroyed and demonized, he was part of a sick plan, a sacrifice to get the ball rolling, a track greased with blood. They took it upon themselves to coat him with the skin of a beautifully slain wolf, as they mocked him and cast him out to be a wild creature, unfit for their great and all fair society. Abandoned, cold and alone, in a wilderness unknown, but he was no stranger to the idea of playing a role. Has this been thy cast? Who was he to deny him a show? So he stapled on the wolf skin that they had thrown, and born anew through blood and sacrifice, he danced with their demons into the unknown. Across a dystopian wilderness he was known to roam, coming across all kinds of souls. Plenty of those who'd scorn a lost dog, of course. But even more, he found other creatures like him, stripped and snared, poor creatures, caught in traps, bones ready to snap. They'll never forget when the wolf came across them on his way. "What be this foul contraption that has your heart and mind snared, poor creature?" said the wolf. "I have been ensnared by a tool of their society. It will be short time before they are here for me. Run, wolf, for I am done. They will undoubtedly find me, but they're always looking for you." The poor creature wheezed. The wolf growls in frustration. "Roar! Gather your strength. What contraption could possibly ensnare your conviction? To fight, to live. Now, this is what I plan to do." A quiet reply. "And that is why they will always hunt you, wolf." Wolf darted off, knowing not to linger, leaving the poor creature behind in his whimper. The next morning, the sun rose and greeted the wolf, the dawn of a new day, followed quickly by a single shot echoed in the distance, disturbing the birds. Wolf was distraught, howling and growling through the day, mourning the creatures that he'd come to pass, fueling his vengeance, not only for himself no more, but for everyone whose lives were nothing more than a game of game to men with guns. Wolf was tired of being scared, and the easiest way to overcome that fear to him, well, that was to overcome the fear of death itself. So that's what he sought out for. Death. That night, Wolf created a dark creed. "I abandon any remains of my humanity, for I must embody the demon they have made me. I will fill these men's hearts with the same fear that has struck mine. I will be the shepherd of their mortality, the sentinel of their damnation. I will prowl quietly and strike quickly. I will greet their pleas for mercy with malice. I will devour their world and spit it out with drool. I am the hunter of hunters. I will show them eyes full of fire and teeth full of blood as I gnaw their beating heart clenched in my jaw." And that's what the wolf did. He was known across all old lands for being a monster. And of course, inevitably, the men came together and overpowered Wolf. They were so angry with him, in fact, they tore every inch of skin off his flesh. The creatures of the wild heard this news, and they had the same conversation as always. What else would you expect? Live by the teeth, die by the teeth. But you know, I found myself wondering, what if we had to let Wolf fight alone? What if we, as bruised and defeated as we are, instead of not to let someone else, who is nothing more than a hurt creature just like us, take on the mantle of being angry for us? To not let him face death alone, as he did for those he came across. Well, maybe if that happened, he wouldn't have been so bad. Maybe he wouldn't have had to pretend to be so big. Maybe if we tried not listening to the mindset of the men who want us dead, well, maybe Wolf's skin could be beautiful once again.
Very nice.
Takes off cowboy hat.
I liked that one a lot.
That's the finale.
Yeah, that was very deep. There was a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
And
So it was like I accidentally wrote this fable. It started with this idea of a man being demonized and then taking a wolf's skin and throwing it over him, and this sort of demonic ritual of just like this, like setting someone up to be the villain.
Yeah.
And him accepting that. Okay, I'll play this villain for you, and I will do damn good at it too.
Yeah.
And so he staples it on, and he becomes the wolf, and it creates this cycle, because then he gets skinned again. Yeah. And so I love it. I accidentally wrote a fable. I was like, how do I do this? And then I was like, oh, how cool would it be to turn it into like a story about the big bad wolf? It's a story about sympathizing with the fairy tale typical villain, the big bad wolf. And I was like, this is amazing. And I performed that. I finished it. And then we all stepped outside and we were talking about the show. And I was asking everybody what they thought. And an old close friend of mine who came, it really touched me. He came to me and he said, I feel like the wolf in the final story was the main character we watched the whole time. And I was like, you got it. It is. You got it. You got it. Thank you. It felt so validating that my art just wasn't like
that is really cool.
So that's the hint. So the character Private Smith is the wolf in the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It has a sort of dark ending. It doesn't really resolve. That's why I gave it this. It's not about him overcoming PTSD. It's about him struggling with PTSD. The setting is sort of like, because I sort of thought about it, I was like, what if we really just do the setting where it's him unable to stay asleep, to rest at night, and we give these flashbacks because he's reliving it. That's why he can't sleep.
Yeah.
And so it gives you this flashback, and then we go back to him on his cot. And he's trying to process it. He's like writing in a journal. And that's how I explained still being on my script. And so he's like writing in a journal, and then we go back more, and we go back more, and then we go back to where we finally find the trauma of like the really big explosion. It's called the trench. It's called the climax, essentially. It's huge. And literally what it is 30 minutes of me reenacting my own really bad psychotic breakdowns. And that's raw. That's really raw. To go in front of my community, my friends, people who know me, and I don't disclose this, but I guess I will here, that these are reenactments of not just my brothers, but of me losing my mind. And it was very impactful, very powerful. I got tears. I had people crying. And so my mom said she cried really hard at one of them because she sort of helped me through those episodes. She's witnessed them firsthand. She knew what I was doing. She knew I was doing this as a therapy to have sort of control over it this time. Like, I'm in control of this story this time. Even though I'm reenacting something was really dark for me to go through. This time I feel like it's in my hands, and it's really therapeutic to relive it and share it with people in a way that they don't feel like you're freaking crazy. They're actually able to sympathize with the big bad wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's deep. And thank you for being vulnerable and open with that, because it does take a lot to actually sit there and, first of all, say it, but second of all, to reenact the actual event itself, because in a way, like you said, it is a therapy for you, because there is therapy that you essentially redo a situation. And so you're essentially rewriting your story, like you said, and it's just great. And I also love that it doesn't necessarily have a closing to it, because much like life, there is no actual like
ending until the end, right? Yeah.
And even then, sometimes not all loops are closed.
Right.
Like, there's not necessarily closure in anything that we do. And so even if it's what we're striving for, there's just like, the loop is as big as you want to make it, I guess. Some people just say like, yeah, that's enough, and then just like make a little tiny link, and then some people are like, nah, I need the whole thing.
What my favorite thing is like, you close the loop, and the end of the loop was just the start of a new loop. You're in a new loop, and then you're back to the closing of that loop, and the closing of that loop was actually the beginning of the last loop, if you can remember. Yeah. And it's like
a Mobius strip.
Yeah. Create like an infinity storyline of the, what was that ending line from the dude? It's like, well, I guess that's just how the story keeps perpetuating itself through time.
Something like that.
Yeah, the old cowboy that was supposed to be God in the bowling alley.
But yeah, so with that performance, though, how did it make you feel actually doing it, like that finale? Because
I was on top of the world.
Oh man,
I was on top of the world. That pendulum was like, I'm amazing. I felt good. I felt validated. Number one, I've always known my strengths were in acting. I have my acting trophies.
Nice.
But the only trophies that I've ever earned, acting. But it wasn't just acting, because I also did audio mixing, and my girlfriend did the light cues, and then I had to weave this narrative. I had to write. So I was like, I felt like, have you watched Bo Burnham's Inside?
No.
Okay, basically he made the whole thing, and it was a whole special. And it basically was like, please welcome director Stetson Smith, cinematography Stetson Smith, audio Stetson Smith. So I'm just like, I can see why people were like, oh, one man show, we'll go check it out. And then them like, wow, he contributed. He put in and put in and put in and put in, and so I felt good. But then I was also kind of like, why am I not doing anything with this? Why am I not performing? Why am I not doing movies or shows or something? I got casted shortly after. There was a scout essentially there, and she casted me in one of her short films. So hopefully there's a postponement on that. So hopefully everything's good with that. So I can't wait to be in. It's called Whispers with CJ Scott. So yeah, I would very much love to do more of that stuff. And it's very good for my mental health. And I think not doing it has been awful for my mental health. But it's also sort of like this, it's just this weird thing. I feel like a jack of all trades, because I love my journalism. I love interacting with my community. I love sharing stories with my community. I don't want to be the only one sharing stories, but also I can come up with stories because I listen to the narratives of everyone around me. I try my best. And so I have this like, I'm like, I can't even lean into my acting sometimes because the news is such a revolving door. And so there's sort of this teeter-totting, this sort of, maybe I'm still trying to just figure out what I want to do officially, but it's hard to think of like, well, acting takes a long time to get the ball going and to become anything, and it's never really stable income unless you become huge. And so it's definitely fun to pursue as like this big passion hobby. But High Plains Media, I think, is more the business that I think would fund that if I could get that aspect going. But yeah, we're trying to put together fundraisers. We're so busy with the news. We've got posters going. We're gonna go do a photo shoot soon. And so yeah, we're gonna be at the 806 October 26th at 8 p.m. There's a lot going on that day, but I'd love to see you guys there. It's free. We charged admissions the first time, but 806 doesn't do that, so it's free. You help us out by purchasing a drink. We get a little bit of that. You could donate to us, or we're trying to put together raffles. We're trying to figure something out.
Nice.
With all that. But I genuinely hope it's packed. If you watch this and you liked my writing, I have 7 more and more. And so, please come. It's meant to give you brain food. I love feeding people, and today Chef Stetson is offering brain food. And so, just in time for Halloween.
Yeah, right? Trick or treat. There is
Trick or treat.
none. Woo!
I also really wanted to do this before the election.
Oh,
This is a political piece. This has nuances of the current climate as I see it. And I'm not on the nose about it. I'll give you a transcript. There's one line I go where I said, we all collectively look to the left for aid and to the right for action. And that is the only line I have in there about the two-party system.
Oh, man.
And most people didn't even know it was about the two-party system, but that's what I mean. You look to the left, the leftists, for social aid, and we look to the right for these sort of die-hard action boys.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to put it. I didn't think about that. Nice.
Yeah. It's layered, dog. I put loop on loop on loop, and then you think you get back out. I was like, you're just back at the top of the slide. I looped you back up there.
But what's really interesting about that is that that's kind of the way that the society has been for a while, you know? And it's like, if you're just like, take a family, for example, like someone might actually end up getting out of the middle class or the lower class. But in doing so, they don't necessarily take the whole family with them. And in doing so, doesn't necessarily mean they go any further, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to absolutely stay right there either, you know? And so it's kind of like you're not just catching moments and bits of your life. It's like you're catching the moments and bits of the everyday person that is in like our shoes, essentially like your shoes, because it's your performance, but it's timeless in a sense, because like we have stories like the Hunger Games and Divergent and all this, and I've seen those Facebook posts where it's like you're siding with the rebellion and stuff in these fictional stories, but you're not doing it in real life. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And that's what you're doing. You're showing that sometimes people become that evil thing to make those in power happy, but at the same time you're just perpetuating a cycle. It's like an eye for an eye. Like in the end, no one really wins.
So that is the story. It is a story about a man who starts as this rookie in the service. He's this green guild boy. He's just literally the opening line. The drill sergeant. I had the man who dedicated the fatigues to me do voice acting for me. I have some voice actors, so it's not like me talking to myself the whole time. But they're like ghosts because they're not there, because it's a memory. And so, but it's my drill sergeant drilling me, and he goes, state your purpose here. And Private Smith goes, to serve and protect at the highest post of civil service to my nation, sir. And then he goes, no, your purpose is to kill. And it's just like, oh. And then by the end of the show, he's leaned into it. He's all like, my purpose is to kill. I am the anti-hero. And it's wild. I love it. It's personally one of my favorites. I want to go back and redo Dead Man's Tale. It's still good. It's where I got my start. But I genuinely want to take Empire of Ash on the road. I want to bring it to a city near you, and with like an Uncle Sam, like kind of. I want you. I'm thinking about it.
Do it. Like there's one-man shows that go on all the time, and I mean, if you watch the Dr. Scott Bond episode, he is the one that talks about serial killers and stuff. He is doing a one-man show himself.
What?
So by all means, you're welcome to try and promote it here, because it's going to be heard all over the place. So I mean, that's what this channel is about. It's about supporting other people.
Thanks, guys.
You know?
Thanks, guys. But the show was about mental health. It's about mental health struggles. It's about men who don't feel like they belong back in society once they come from that training. It's about, and you know what's really funny? Let me loop this together for you. I talked about my stepbrothers, right, who went through that service. Okay. They were the sons of my stepmom, and essentially I was under my stepmom for 18 years, so I am sort of like her bastard son. And I realized that she raised 3 men who all now struggle with PTSD, who all, like, they were honorable, they were honored killers, but they did take life in their tours. And I don't want to serve the military, but I often struggle with this PTSD, with this anger. I would call it a killer's instinct, and it's wild. And then now I wrote a story about me processing that through my brothers, and so it's almost like this. I guess that's why I felt so therapeutic. My stepmom is the biggest point of my trauma in my entire life, and so this show, not only being able to express where that led me, but where I saw it lead my brothers, it was nice to close that book, and I think that's why I end it the way I do. To finally, it's really intense at the ending, like right before the one I read. It's like holy crap! I feel like he's gonna shoot up this room, but then I get to the finale, and it's really just this old man reading this story. It's a fable, and I'm able to then turn this crazy real thing. It's like, remember, it's all fake. It's all a show. It's a performance. This is a fable. This isn't real. Even though it's real things, I wanted the audience to not leave like, I don't know how we feel about Stetson anymore. So I think it was well executed.
Well, that's really good, and I'm super proud for you and of you, because, like, again, a one-man show, that's a big thing, and then on top of everything else you're doing, so you've come a long way. And
thanks,
again, it takes a lot of strength and a lot of self-love and everything to come and just tell everyone this, to advocate for other people.
Cry, Keegan. What the hell? Oh my god. I'm gonna hold back tears right now, dude. Oh my god. Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, no, you're doing amazing, dude. And so your art matters, your words matter, and you have no idea who you're going to help with your story, with your, hopefully, not Empire of Ash, your performance, but you don't want to leave behind an Empire of Ash, and you're on the path of leaving behind some great legacy. You're in the process of making your story, and it's going to be out there. Because
I will say there is a line in there called Empire of Ash, and I'll end it before we go too much further. I know we're running out of time, but what does he say? He says, "That's all that will be left of your kingdom, an empire of ash. May it serve as soft, fertile ground for a new one to come." And so the character addresses, like, I know I want to be a part of your destruction process, and I'm going to go with you down that road, and we're going to leave nothing but fertile ground for new people. And I got that from the book of Revelation. And also the Phoenix, were born from the ashes, and literally during a wildfire, I walked through the Smokehouse Creek fire grounds. The ground is really soft. It's like you're walking on a cloud when it's like this much ash. It's the softest ground you've ever felt, and it's fertilizer. It is so it's bad in the moment, but once the rains come, it's actually it's like this whole reset that nature kind of needed sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes, not necessarily every time.
Yeah.
But
so that's Empire of Ash.
Yeah, that is really touching, and I mean, I kind of want to be like, to help promote it, maybe put it live on like YouTube or TikTok or something.
We're gonna record it. We're gonna have a promotional shooter. We're gonna actually be serious about recording it this time. Dead serious about recording it this time. We've got a big memory card to do it too.
Nice.
And we kind of need some help with someone to run the camera. I kind of need some help. It's just me and Ariel. And if you know anybody in Amarillo that would be interested in the show, yeah, I'd love any help with advertising it. We just sort of got the banners going. I know you still got a few friends up in here that watch this, so I would love to see all of you there. It would mean the world to me to not express what I'm being told is really good art into an empty room. But if it's an empty room, I mean, last time it was 20 people, and it was incredibly intimate. It was very intimate. It was all people who supported and loved me. And so, yeah. And I would love to bring it to your city, and I would give you a personal invitation and have you in the front row.
That would be awesome. Like, to see you in one of the amphitheaters or something, doing a one-man show. Like, dude, what? That would be
They're
cool.
expensive. We probably have to just get little stages or find something. But, yeah, because I talked to, like, the Amarillo... like Globe News, and it's so expensive to just take up the space. So, so that's why I want High Plains Media to take off, and we're looking for sponsors for that. We're looking for some sort of paid affiliations. I want to help advertise some things going on in the city as well. And I think it's just, it's getting the ball rolling, because people are like, well, you're news. And I'm like, well, yeah, the news has paid partnerships.
Yeah.
That's how they pay. That's mostly how they pay their bills.
Like, what do you think commercials are, dude?
Yeah. So I want some of those. We're some of our views get about 200. My worst video the other day got 5 views. I just deleted it. It wasn't a bad video. It just didn't get any views. So so that's kind of why I made that joke about like me talking to an empty room sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting traction. People are noticing me. It takes a little while to validate it. Amarillo's so behind. So without the big giant camera and this access to television broadcast, they feel like you're not really real yet. And it's like, well, you want to realize like how long it's been since I've had access to cable, and I'm a voter. I'm almost 30. There is a huge demographic in Amarillo that does not have access to actual news, and I'm trying to fill that gap.
Wow, that's crazy. But that's really good that you're stepping up, you're taking action, and you're doing something positive for the community whenever it's something that needs to be done. Because I mean, really, whenever you think about it, it's kind of like, oh, everyone has a cell phone, everyone has a computer, so everyone has internet, and it's not the case. Not everyone has TV. Not everyone has all this stuff. Like, we take things for granted, and you're sitting there, you're looking out for the, like, not the little person, but the person that may be left behind, someone that isn't as informed about something.
My High Plains Media business core value is voicing those without a voice and serving those that are underserved.
Nice.
Yeah,
that is powerful.
Yeah, that's the point of it.
I feel like it's going to go places.
Oh, thanks. My girlfriend does too. She's joined the team 100%. Motion graphics, all the cool little swooshes and the words that pop up. She does all that. I don't even touch that stuff. I don't know how she does it. Without her, it would not be good looking. It wasn't for a while, I'll admit it. But we've grown. And I finally had to swallow that big horse pill of humility and just be bad. I was bad, and that's okay, because now I'm better. Yeah. And so I think to end this show, I think it's okay. Like, my girlfriend once asked me, we were having an argument, relationships, right? And she said, you need to be better about allowing me to be broken for a minute. And she was right. We, as a society, I think, could be better about letting people be broken for a time. And not demonizing them, because then you're just throwing the wolf skin on them, and that's not fair. And it also might come and bite you.
Yeah, no joke. Especially if you're doing that to your girlfriend. So, but
only the fun biting. Hey-o! That's where we're gonna end the show.
But yeah, we are actually almost out of time. So, real quick, I wanted to ask you, this is probably going to be airing in October. So we're going to assume that it's in October. So do you know what October is?
Halloween.
Well, yeah, that's like the end of October.
The month of October? What the national
Yeah.
month is? Actually, I'm not aware.
It is actually about mental health.
Is it? Is it a mental health
Yeah,
month? Because I know June is Men's Mental Health Month, but it often gets, there's something else that goes on that gets a little more of the attention. But that's okay.
Yep.
I love them both. But I often try to like mention, it's like, remember, June is also about men's mental health. I almost want to move it. I'm gonna like, let them have it. Let's move men's mental health somewhere. We already get shoved out a little bit. Let's move men's mental health to its other month.
Yeah. So October is a month of awareness for mental health and related causes. So we've got National Depression Screening Day, which is on October 5th. We have World Mental Health Day on October 10th. And we have ADHD Awareness Month, and we also have National Depression and Mental Health Screening Month. So we can all treat ourselves a little bit extra this October, because now we know that it's just self-love, all that extra candy.
Nice.
So
all that extra candy. You're funny. We're on the puns today. All right, I'll be love to disclose that at the performance, and treat yourself in October with a really good performance about mental health.
Yeah. Hey, real quick. Do you remember the national hotline for suicide prevention?
It's 811, isn't it?
988.
988. Wow, what's 811? Is that the digging one?
811 is digging. Your dyslexia.
It's 988. Yeah, the dyslexia kicked in. It's 988. Yeah.
Yep. So, anyways, if we can teach our children how to call 911 in an emergency, we can teach our friends and loved ones how to call 988 whenever they're having issues with suicidal ideation. So, Stetson, I got to thank you again. You've been wonderful, and Empire of Ash, I can't wait to see it in its entirety online. And again, I mean, I can't wait till you're back on the show.
Yeah, I can't wait to do it. We're gonna take a pause on High Plains Media. We've got lots of content we're gonna like stream roll out while we're doing it, but we're gonna not be recording as much. But yeah, can't wait to do it. Would love to see everybody there. Thank you, Keegan, again. Honestly, you really kind of touched me today. Come here, bro. Oh, come on, bring it in. Yeah. Big old bear hug. Oh, yeah. All right. Nice. Yeah. Wow, we're getting real comfortable this episode. And as well, if you can teach your kids to dial 988, we can also all kind of learn to not demonize people for needing that help.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's very true.
That's my final point. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
that's right. Well, Keegan, I'm gonna go hit the trail.
All right, Stetson. You have
Y'all take care now.
Good night. Shalom.
Take care, High Plains. All right, we good?
Yes, sir. We are.